Imagine rejecting a club that could have made you a European champion in favor of signing for a newly promoted side that made you a free agent after just one season. Jesse Lingard has had quite an interesting career. Despite breaking out from one of the biggest clubs in England, destined to have a blissful career, he now finds himself at 30 years of age, dumped by a club who spent a bulk of their previous campaign involved in a relegation battle, despite having the option not to sign with them.
Going to Forest when West Ham were interested in you.
He must be gutted now.
Why did you not go to West Ham, a team where you done ever so well?
Lingard's career has consisted of him being scrutinized and criticized for what many felt was his lack of concentration on football during a period in which his club was going through a difficult time.
On his TikTok that he is putting on a number of videos on there, a lot of them him dancing with his mates.
Jesse Lingard has 33 goals in 208 games in total for United, and that's just not good enough. That's why he's lost his starting place in the team.
From scoring in the FA Cup final to getting criticized for launching his clothing brand in the lead up to a match against Liverpool, to his initial revival, to not getting a proper farewell at his boyhood club, to making a terrible transfer decision. This is the frustrating downfall of Jesse Lingard.
You know, my family were watching the games, they couldn't even watch me because they knew that the person on the pitch wasn't me.
He simply isn't good enough for United.
I don't know what I was thinking, don't know what was going through my head at the time, but like I say, like I was drinking. I can't do it. I actually can't do it anymore.
Jesse Lingard has been a Red Devil from the start. He arrived in Manchester United's youth academy at the age of 7 and was immediately seen as a massive talent. He spent several years in the youth setup and was even a part of Manchester United's under-18 youth FA Cup winning side. He soon signed his professional contract with the club, after which he was sent out on multiple loan spells to clubs such as Leicester City, Birmingham City and Brighton, before making his Manchester United first team debut in the 2014-15 season in a 2-1 home loss to Swansea. His debut didn't go as planned, as he had to come off only after just spending 24 minutes on the pitch. He didn't feature for the club in the league again and went on his 4th loan spell in the second half of that season to Derby County. The following campaign, the 2015-16, was when Lingard truly announced himself to the Manchester United faithful, making 40 appearances, scoring 6 goals, the last of which came in the FA Cup final against Crystal Palace. In a game that was surely destined to be heading for penalty shootouts, Lingard would score the winner, thereby sending the Manchester United section in Wembley Stadium into a frenzy. He felt like a star in this moment, and from there the expectations grew. However, he couldn't maintain the hype for very long, as during a very dark and difficult period for Manchester United, his positive public perception began to take a turn for the worse. Lingard is a happy, fun-loving, social and cheerful guy, which on the surface shouldn't be considered as a problem for anybody, but the fact that he was playing for a club whose rapid decline led to the rise of a disgruntled fan base, then it all starts to make sense. His increased focus on social media and mostly anything that wasn't related to football angered sections of the club's fans, particularly the older ones who felt that a player of his potential was wasting it by choosing to spend more time as a social media personality than doing what the majority of his revenue is being generated from, and that was to play football. While he was very popular amongst the much younger United fans and was known for taking extra time to sign autographs, he was rejected by the much older ones who didn't appreciate what they perceived as his egotistical and self-centered, attention-seeking attitude. His dominant online presence and his often trendy goal celebrations was never fully embraced by the club's fans, who felt he should be concentrating more on football. They saw him as the kind of player who would rather try and often pull off outlandish moves in pursuit of an eye-catching goal when a simple finish or pass would have been more effective. This led to him giving off the vibe that he thought he was better than he already was, which is a self-destructive way of viewing yourself as a player, as it often keeps one under the illusion that he has nothing much to improve about himself. Of course, we should also take into account that Lingard played in Manchester United during a period in which the club was going through a massive identity crisis. There was barely any period after Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement in 2013 that the club enjoyed a sustained period of happiness. Much like Lingard's performances on the pitch, Manchester United as a club was very inconsistent. The club's fall from grace gave rise to an overall toxic atmosphere, which sometimes centered around players often getting scapegoated for either the biggest or the most minuscule of things whenever the team was underperforming. Players who didn't go out of their way to maintain a low profile during the club's period of grief were often despised because of their perceived lack of care. In late 2018, Lingard came under immense criticism for his decision to launch his clothing brand J Lings in a period which coincided with Manchester United's 3-1 defeats to Liverpool at Anfield, and despite Lingard scoring scoring the team's only goal in the match, he was massively criticized by several fans, former players, and club legends who saw his off-field engagement as a symptom of Manchester United's issues. One of those former players was Paul Ince, who claimed that Lingard starting his clothing line was everything wrong with Manchester United. All we see on social media is his new clothing line, his dancing, trips to Las Vegas and Miami. In reality, he scored 2 goals all season. A player in his position has only managed 2 goals, but still has his own goal celebration. There are plenty of things you can do outside of football, like taking coaching badges, doing a degree, learning a language. You don't need to make your own clothing brand as though you are one of the best stars in the world. He needs to remember who he is. He's come a long way since he couldn't get in the derby side. Despite the way he plays, who would want to wear his clothing range anyway? I hate to say it, but he wouldn't have gotten away with this in my time. These players, when they come to United and want to be successful, should take a look at how the proper players conducted themselves. If you're top of the table, you've got 3 Premier League titles winners medal, a Champions League winners medal, etc., then you can go and create your clothing brand. But he's not. He's a prime example of everything that's wrong with Manchester United. Other legends such as Roy Keane would join in on the criticisms. While speaking as a pundit on Sky Sports, he said, "If that was a good, strong dressing room, that wouldn't be tolerated. That's why I worry about the Manchester United dressing room. For a young player still learning his trade, he could be the nicest kid in the world. I don't know him, but you're coming out with all this nonsense. I think football should be your #1 priority. People say you should have other stuffs outside of football, but I don't think you should. Don't hide behind your cars or tattoos or girlfriends. You can do that when you retire." Lingard, of course, would respond to all of the criticisms, particularly the ones on social media, as he went on to say the following. "I think people think I'm actually involved in everything, but I don't pack the clothes and send them on. There are a lot of things on social media with people saying nasty things. You can't get drawn into that stuff. I don't read that stuff. I don't read papers. That's why it's tough for young footballers coming through now. They're so attracted to social media and what people are saying about them. They don't actually know how good they are themselves. For me, I just don't read anything online." As his relationship with the club's fans continued to deteriorate, soon after, Lingard would reveal the reason for his poor performances. "I wasn't performing and he was on me all the time. He wanted more from me. So I felt it was best to get it off my chest and tell him why my head wasn't right. So I knocked on his door." In the interview, he would reveal that he was battling with depression and alcoholism, which was as a result of his mother's illness, leaving him despite being in an emotionally challenged state to take care of his siblings. "My mom has had some things for years, but never really got help. So I've been taking care of my brother and sister. They're with me. It has been tough to see my loved ones struggling, and then I have to come to work and try to do my job. As a person who likes to deal with stuff on his own, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do. I always use the phrase, be yourself, but I have realized now that there are times when you just can't be. My dad and older brother, Louis, have been great supports, but some of this stuff has broken my heart, you know. As a man, I have to take this responsibility and be there for everyone. I've had to mature and wise up. Sometimes when your worries are so deep, you can't function properly. Now it's about getting back to my best, and I feel I can do that." Lingard was in a dark place.
What I was thinking, don't know what was going through my head at the time, but I can say, like, I was drinking, stuff like that, like, before bed, like, having nightcap. I'm like, I look back now, I think, like, what am I doing that for? Like, what I needed something to try and take the pain away and, like, put me at ease somehow and, like, try and forget what was going on, but it makes 10 times worse.
According to him, he didn't want to leave his home out of fear of being recognized, and so with his game time decreasing, he wanted out and even considered taking offers from clubs in China or Saudi Arabia to move away from all the scrutiny. In January of 2021, Lingard got the opportunity to relaunch his career. Former Manchester United manager David Moyes came through and brought Lingard to West Ham, offering him a chance to revive his career, and he grabbed that opportunity with both hands. I spoke to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the start of the season and said, "If I'm going to get any game time, I need to go on loan." We agreed to discuss it in December. I'd started 2 games, so I said, "Boss, I need to go." He agreed. There was Newcastle United and West Brom, but then my dad got a call from David Moyes at West Ham. He said, "When I was at United, I let your son go out on loan. It's time to repay the favor." I spoke to him and we tried to get a deal done. It was off, then on, then off, then on. It was a roller coaster. Me and Louis were crying one time because it was off, then it was on again, so we flew straight down and got it over the line. Lingard arrived at the London Stadium with a point to prove, and it only took 16 matches to show the world exactly what he was made of. He became one of the Premier League's best players in that half of the season, even winning the Premier League Player of the Month in April. When talking about what brought about this change in him in an interview with Jamie Redknapp, credited his brother Louis Scott and Greece under-17 coach Alexandros Alexiadis for helping him relaunch his career, a relaunch that was branded as Project Jesse 2.0. I wasn't playing, so I was down. Luckily, I had Louis sending me videos from my under-21 days for United and England. He was trying to make me realize what a good player I'd been. Watch this. So I did and thought, I can't throw this away. It gave me confidence, and that first lockdown gave me a chance to reevaluate what I wanted in life. When Redknapp asked Louis what it was like seeing his brother like that, he said, "I've watched this kid all my life. There were matches where I had to leave because I knew he wasn't right and I felt helpless. You know, when you see a boxer on his last legs ready to be knocked out. That's what I was seeing, and at the same time, the vultures came for him. They were picking away. There was a lot of online abuse. I don't look at Jesse as someone to analyze or someone who needs a new contract. I am his big brother. I needed to make sure this kid could go on and live his life. He didn't want to go fill up his car with petrol as he didn't want to go out. I felt powerless.
You know, my family were watching the games. They couldn't even watch me because they knew that the person on the pitch wasn't me.
Speaking about just the abuse that he would get on social media when people felt as if he just didn't belong in the team because he wasn't performing well.
He felt agitated to work on himself, and after watching the videos his brother had sent to him, he called him up and told him, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to fight and we are going to do it." It was a video of him playing for United's under-21. He picks up the ball, beats two players, cuts in and whips it just over the top corner. This kid was 4 foot 5 inches in the under-21, taking on opponents who were 6 feet, beating them, creating. When I saw that, compared to what he was doing in the United first team, it was chalk and cheese. So it was about hitting the reset button. That was why I was sending him those videos, to remind him of what he could do. His brother did his best to help Jesse regain his confidence during this period, even setting up a whiteboard on which he wrote several encouraging messages and routines to help him focus. Jamie, curious to know what that was about, asked the question, "I've seen a picture of a whiteboard in your Stratford flat, Jesse, full of motivational words, like Panama, the 2018 World Cup, opponents you scored against, or take risks, hungry, and half turn. Was that your idea?" To which Jesse replied, "My brother put it up. I woke up every morning and looked at the board. He'd write a new word each night and eventually it was all filled in. Words which meant something to us. Get at him was one. World Cup 2018 was a reminder of that tournament. 3 cup final goals to mark my FA Cup, EFL Cup, Community Shield finals. Little things to reiterate what I'd done and achieved. The whiteboard was good. I'll do it again this season." We wrote down a reasonable target of 4 goals and 2 assists by the March internationals, and we did that. I was enjoying my football and when confident, I believe I can score a goal or 2 a game. When asked whether he went back to Manchester United a different player, he said he went back very confident. His return to the club, however, did not turn out as expected. West Ham and David Moyes wanted to make Lingard's move permanent, but Solskjaer was adamant on letting him stay. He stayed, and well, it was terrible. Lingard was upset that despite training hard, he wasn't receiving any game time. "I don't know why I wasn't playing. I don't know what the problem was, whether it was politics or whatever. I still haven't got an answer to this day. I didn't even ask. I'd rather that someone out of respect for me being there that long told me, this is why you're not playing. But I never got that. It was false promises. I was training hard and I was sharp. I was ready to play them games. When you're working hard in training and don't play at the end of it, it's very frustrating." What's more, in his final home game for the club, he expected that just like players like Juan Mata, Edison Cavani, Phil Jones and Nemanja Matic, that he too would be given minutes in order to be offered a chance for a proper send-off, but he was unfortunately denied as he was left on the bench by manager Ralf Rangnick, a decision which Lingard admits to still being hurt by, and even led to his brother Louis calling out the club on Instagram. 20 years of blood, sweat and tears, 4 domestic trophies, 3 cup final goals, not even a farewell. No wonder it's Conference League next year. Attacking players for celebrations when the club's being sold to the Super League. Okay, class of 92, Busby babes, you're run by people who don't even know the offside trap. Classless, and the fans need to realize, good night, God bless. Been there since 9 years of age and didn't even get a send-off. Well done bro, your family are proud. Now, it was the summer of 2022 and the time for Lingard to make his decision on where he wanted to go next. Many thought West Ham United was the perfect option, and it did seem like it was going to happen until Lingard decided he was going to sign for newly promoted Nottingham Forest, much to the disbelief of everyone.
Going to Forest when West Ham were interested in you.
He must be gutted now.
Why did you not go to West Ham, a team where you done ever so well?
It was said that Forest flew him over to Athens to have a meeting with club owner Evangelos Marinakis with hopes of successfully seducing him to sign, and once that was done, Lingard became the team's highest paid player in the process. This This decision truly didn't sit well with many at all, with the general consensus being that Lingard only picked Forest because of the money. He went there for the money. I love Nottingham Forest, that they are back. If any footballer is picking Nottingham Forest right now before West Ham, what they've done in the last 2 or 3 years, they're obviously going there for a few quid. And the fact that he's only signed a year means that next year on a free or Bosman, there is a good chance Forest could go down, but it puts Jesse in a good position if he gets 8 to 10 goals for them. But if West Ham wants you right now, I can't believe he never went to West Ham. It's brilliant for Nottingham Forest. Lingard would defend his decision by saying, I could have gone abroad for a lot of money, life-changing money. For me, it's nonsense. I don't like to read a lot of stuff too much. It was my decision. The owners were very strong in their approach and went overboard. And when I saw that kind of appreciation, it's hard to say no. I WhatsApped them and it's like a family. They've shown me so much love getting here in the first place, and that was one of the most important factors. As predicted, his choice turned out to be a terrible one, as his time at Forest was nothing to write home about. He never really fit into the club, mostly due to the fact that a lot of the players there were newly signed, affecting the team's chemistry. The team lost 7 matches, winning just 1 in their first 10 Premier League matches. Lingard made 13 out of 15 appearances for the club before the World Cup, and in his first match after the World Cup against former club Manchester United, Lingard suffered an injury and it was all downhill from there. West Ham fans even booed him and threw fake banknotes to show how they truly felt about the rejection. Although Forest avoided relegation, West Ham proved to be the more successful with their recent European triumph.